Good morning all, it's Donna here from Blind and Homesteading and Blind and Knitting. Hope you're all well. Today's some homesteading going on. We have had some lovely news. One of my nieces has just had a baby. She's had a 7-pound baby boy on the 9th and he's just doing beautifully. And so I have another niece who is expecting and due in September. So what I thought I would do today is make some bulk frozen meals for them to make life a little easier when they have their baby. Well, one niece has had her baby, my other niece hasn't, but so to help them out. So they've got older children as well. So I'm going to start by making some hot chocolate mixes. I know I made it before on the show, so you will understand that one, so I won't take too much time in doing it, but I'll just mix it all up together. I'm going to make some frozen pizzas, mini pizzas for the kids. I make them for my lunch, and I will make a few more because I'm running low. I make them for my lunch, I freeze them, and then I can just take them to work and put them in the griller thing to heat them up, and they taste just like those little mini ones that you buy that you put in the microwave, except they don't go all stick to the top and the lid comes off and all that. So I thought I'd make the kids some instant pizzas that they can just whip up, or the parents can whip up for them when they're hungry. So there's 5 children between the two nieces, not including the babies. So that's why I'm doing the hot chocolate and the mini pizzas. Then after that, I thought I might whip up a pancake mix so that the kids might like to make their own breakfast one morning and make their own pancake mix. So we'll do that. Then after that, we're going to do some bulk cooking. So it's going to be a big weekend actually. So I will spread it over the whole weekend so that you don't endure, or I don't endure the whole lot in one bish bang. Yeah, it's Saturday, I'm in New Zealand, I am legally blind, so I do struggle with things. So if you see some silly stuff like knocking things over or searching for things, that's kind of normal for me. Bruising on my body is also normal for me. I have bruising often everywhere. Chiropractor knows me well. It's part and parcel of being legally blind. I do have a tiny bit of sight, as I say regularly in every show, so hence I am stubborn and determined to keep going with this. But thank you if you've subscribed. Thank you to my new subscribers. The channel has taken off and lots of viewers, so I'm really wrapped with that, and I hope you're learning something from it or gaining something from it or just simply enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing it and really loving sort of sharing the love of how to cook from scratch, have a homesteading mindset, and try to be a little bit more sustainable and tread lightly on our planet. That's kind of my goal, and also not to fill myself with all those horrible concoctions that they put in things, preservatives and colours and things. You know, I know that people expect things to last longer in the cupboard or to not clump together, or that, you know, they just want it easy, and you know, that's how we've come to that. People have always said, well, I don't want it to clump in my bowl, and I don't want it to do this. And so the consumers say that, and so the factories, etc., will say, well, we'll just put this in it, and oh, we'll just put this in it. And that'll stop it from clumping, and that'll keep it, you know, shelf stable. There's other ways of doing it, and but also accepting that sometimes those things do clump together and do, you know, sometimes they're not that shelf stable. Great example is I made homemade bread yesterday, and I used one of my dump and go recipes. I actually didn't know what it was, but I found this in the freezer and I thought, I have no idea what this is. So it was real lucky dip. So I pulled it out. It turned out to be a scrummy casserole. So I just threw it in the crock pot from frozen and put it on during the day. And then I threw a loaf of bread in the bread maker. And so we had yummy casserole and homemade bread last night, and without any mess, any preparation. It was just so easy. But the leftover bread I've crumbled up because we don't eat a lot of bread. So in some of the meals I'm going to cook today, I need breadcrumbs, so I've crumbled it up to do that, because homemade bread really doesn't keep the same because it doesn't have the preservatives in it, but you can use it for all sorts of other things. Anyway, let's get started. So I'll bring you down. I know you've seen this recipe before. Oh, I know what I must do. I must apologise for my sniffing in the last podcast. Hay fever. I don't know. I live in New Zealand, the North Island of New Zealand. It is the middle of winter, but it is very spring-like. We've had a very, very awesome winter actually, but the wattle is out. So wattle is this great big huge tree that has these yellow, it's like powdery flowers all over it. It's just a massive yellow colour, but the powder just flies everywhere, pollen, and yeah, so I've been getting a bit of hay fever, but it wasn't till I watched my podcast that I realised I'd sniffed all the way through, so I apologise for that. Hay fever. So let's go down and get started. So I'm going to move you down so you can see on my bench, on my workspace. I think you can see. I'll move you around so you see the work bench. And we're going to make these hot chocolates. So the first thing, I've got a bowl. The first thing I'm going to do is add icing sugar. 1.5 cups of icing sugar. So easy, it is, so yummy, and I've made it, shown it on the podcast before, where you can add all sorts of flavours. I've done mint, where I dehydrated mint out of my garden and crushed it up in my pestle and mortar. So I'll tie that back up because inevitably I'll knock it over. So do that. 2 cups of milk powder. The last one I made was with coconut milk powder because I made it for my daughter who's dairy intolerant, but pretty sure these kids aren't dairy intolerant. So 2 cups of milk powder. I hope I'm right and that they're not milk tolerant and have milk allergies, but I'm pretty sure they don't. So 2 cups of milk powder. Put the lid on that so that I don't knock it over, and I've already put milk everywhere. I'm going to keep the milk powder out because I need it to make the pizza bases. Little bit of my benches are all clean, my hands are clean, my hair's tied back. And now the next thing is 1.5 cups of cocoa powder. Now I thought this was quite rich, and so I made quiches with less cocoa powder, and I think I put 1 in, and it just wasn't the same. It does need that hit of chocolate, so I'm going to put 1.5 in, but we'll make them, the kids will enjoy them regardless. So 1.5 teaspoons of cocoa powder, not teaspoons, cups of cocoa powder. Running low on cocoa powder, but I have bought another one here, so we'll put that in the container. I won't empty it till I need it, because the more packaging sealed up it is, the better, until I need it. I don't use cocoa that often. Now the next thing in there is some salt, because you can't have chocolate. You want to bring out the flavours, and that's what salt does. So I'm just going to do 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And that is it. Well, you could do some flavouring. So as I was saying, I've done mint and chilli. I've put chilli flakes in. That was really yummy. I like that one. You could put some chilli powder in if you want it with a bit of zing right through. Cinnamon. I've done cinnamon. That was nice. And I have had a vanilla pod that I added to one. And that I'm still drinking that one, and I'm still drinking the mint and chilli one, and they've been very yummy. So mix it up really well, and there is your instant chocolate drinks for the kids. Put them in some jars for them. Hopefully they'll fit in these jars. And that funnel's not going to fit in there anyway, right? Well, we're going to have to do it the good old way. This way. Let's just do this, because that's not going to fit. Let's fill these. So fill them up. All they have to do is add about 2 tablespoons, not heaped tablespoons, but 2 tablespoons to a cup, and add some either cold milk. It's got milk in it, so you can just add water if you just want water. But I quite like adding milk in it because it makes it sort of even more creamy, really. So let's see how we're going here. I think we're going to fill them. Oops, it's not mixed completely, but that's okay. We can shake that up at the end. So let's knock them down a bit. See how we can get on with filling these. I think we might have too much, but that's all right. I don't have bigger jars, so we might just have to put the rest of this in one of my ones and have it here. There we go. So I'll put that over there so that it's out of the way. There is instant hot chocolate. Now, if you want, it's just like those ones that you have in the packets. I've also got some marshmallows. So I'm going to put some marshmallows in some jars for them. And then they can put marshmallows on the top for a little treat. So those little packets that you buy, long tubes of hot chocolates and things, this is what they are, and this is all they have in them, bar some extra things like fillers and things to stop them from flaking. And I might fit most of this in here. I'm making a heck of a mess, but hey ho, let's pick those up. Put them in there. So if you want one of mine, I've added decaf coffee to, so it's actually more of a mochaccino, and one of them, there we are, that's all of them fit in. Good, no waste. So there for the children is a nice little treat, hot chocolate and marshmallows to put on top, and it's cost me next to nothing, no rubbish. I will ask for my jars back if they think of it, and the kids will love those. I know they will, because I love them, my grandkids love them. So I'll put those in a container for them, and that's a jolly good start. I'll pause you and let's wait so that I can set up again for the next one. So pause is lifted up. Right, I'm back. So I'm all cleaned up from the hot chocolates. Now we're going to make some pizza bases for the homemade pizzas. Now I use my bread maker for the bases. I put this in. It's the same recipe I use for absolutely everything. I know you can get all sorts of different recipes, and I have tried all, but once you've found one that you know works and you like, I tend to stick with it. So it's one that I use to make hamburger buns. It's the ones I made the bread last night with, although I added one of my flavoured salts to it so that it had some onion powder and garlic powder and a bit of savoury flavour to it, hence why it wasn't white, it looked sort of brown. And I use it for pizza bases. I use it for just about everything, and it's so easy. It's a recipe that I have used for, I've been making bread for years. My old bread maker I used to make bread before that. A good friend of mine taught me how to make no-knead bread. So I used to make bread before, but when I bought my bread maker in I'm trying to think when, late 80s maybe, early 90s perhaps, it just got thrashed. And last year, no, not last year, this year, earlier this year, it died on me. So it would still mix dough and rise dough, but it wouldn't cook it. I think something to do with the thermometer. So I had to purchase a new one, which has taken me a little while to get used to, but it's very similar. Just, the small nuances of different breeds. Now, so bread, the first thing we need is a cup. The recipe that I use actually says a cup minus 1 centimetre. I put a cup in because I would rather have slightly moist bread, because when you have too much flour or too heavy, that's when you get really heavy, bogged down loaves. If you without having it really moist and sticky, it does make a much nicer dough. So I make it with quite hot water, and the reason I do that is by the time you've poured the hot water from the tap into here, it's cold, and then by the time you've poured it into here, it's cold, and then by the time you put your yeast in it, it's cold to tepid. So you want tepid water, but it takes a while. So I usually use quite hot water from the tap, which is there. So 1 cup of water, put that into my thing. I'll bring you down so that you can see. That's a bit silly not bringing you down, isn't it? Hey? So 1 cup of water into my bread maker. Then I put the yeast in. Now I have active and non-active yeast, and I use, it's a tablespoon. I put a tablespoon in, and I keep this in my fridge, but I keep the bulk of it in the deep freeze. So we're going to check on whether this is still active. Now it should be, because I only used it yesterday, but I'll check again. So put a teaspoon of sugar in as well, and then give it a stir around. And I found, so what happens now is the sugar activates the yeast, and it should go bubbly, which it will. So by the time I've put my sugar, see, here I go, searching, oh, there we go, sugar and my yeast away, it should start bubbling. So just bear with, and I'll put these away on my bench and in my fridge. I always keep my yeast. It's actually getting a bit low. I'll have to bring some out of the freezer. So it is starting to look, it kind of looks like it's starting to thicken. It bubbles, and yeah, looks like it's going to thicken a wee bit. So what we need now is to get ready for the next stage. So yep, that looks like it's bubbling. You can walk away and leave it for 5 minutes and really check. It'll go a bit frothy. I haven't bothered with this because I do know that it's live because I used it last night. But it is starting to, I don't know if you're able to see that much, but it is starting to kind of look like it's thicker and bubbling very slightly. And as I say, I could leave it longer. So what I do now is I add 3 cups of, and I've got high grade flour here. You can use 1.5 cups of wholemeal and 1.5 cups of white to make it a wholemeal loaf, but because I'm making this for pizzas, you could, what we could add, but I don't know if I will. I just will keep it simple because they're quite young kids. They're sort of 5, 6, 7 age group. I think this the wee lad is 8. So I think we'll just keep it as plain as possible for the kids, so that they, so I'll put that back in there so that we know that they'll eat it. But some Italian herbs or some mixed herbs in there would be really nice. Some garlic powder. Right, so now we've got the 3 cups of flour. We can add a good tablespoon of milk powder. Now you could use milk instead of water. I just find that this is, I just got this recipe. Good tablespoon of milk powder, and put that on the top. So we've got underneath, we've got the yeast, the water and the sugar. We've got the flour, and now we're adding just the things on top. You can use oil, but I use butter, and this is one of the butters. This is one of the butters that I've made from my butter that I've made from my milk that I get. So a good tablespoon. I quite like a good tablespoon and a wee bit more, just for good measure. And salt, a teaspoon of salt. That's all there is to it. How easy is that? So yeast, sugar and water, flour, and then milk powder, salt, and then you can add flavourings, butter or oil or an egg. I've seen people put eggs in. I've not done it myself. Any flavourings, as I say, I've got my mixed spice here, which I will make on the program one day. That is really yummy, and it's got things like onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, oregano, that sort of thing in it. So adding that is what I did last night. all sorts of things. I used to love, I'll bring you up, one of my favourite ones that I used to make a lot years ago, I haven't for ages I must admit, is dehydrated garlic, dehydrated tomato and dehydrated bacon, and that is a really yummy mix in your breads. You can do sweet breads, cheese, you can put zucchini in it. Zucchini bread is yummy, very moist, but this is for pizzas. So that's my pizza base. Now I have to work this afternoon. I've got phone clients for counselling, on Fridays and Saturdays I do phone counselling, and it is 11 o'clock and my first client's at 1. This will take about an hour and a half to mix and rise, so I'm thinking I won't turn it on until I have my first client, so that it's ready when I finish, because I've got one at 1, one at 2 and one at 3. So I should be finished about 4, and that'll be ready for me to roll them out into and make the pizzas. So that'll be my mission for that. So that can just sit in the bread maker waiting for me to just push start. And dough, make sure you push dough, not bread, because otherwise it'll just keep cooking. You want it just to knead and rise. It'll do one rise, a first rise, and then you get it out and we punch it down and do a second rise. Yeah, so that is nice and easy. Pizza bases, we'll make the pizzas later. So what we can do now, I think, is make an instant pancake mix for the kids, and that's kind of the kids all kind of sorted. Now what I have brought is I've brought some chicken breasts, I've brought some mince, and I've brought some sausages. Now I have brought what my partner calls cardboard sausages. Those that we've got a company over here called Hellers. I love the sausages, but they're not. They're very ground up, and almost like a sausage meat rather than a meat. And my partner, being a farmer, he likes a sausage that's got meat in it. But I know when I've done this cooking with my family before, that the kids don't like that. They're not used to it. They live in town. They're not used to farm sausages. So I brought towny sausages. So I'm going to make curried sausages, and I'm going to make a meatloaf and maybe some meatballs if I've got enough mince. And I haven't quite made up my mind with the chicken fillets yet. I thought I might make something kind of nice for the parents, so that the kids might have pizzas and the parents could have something nice like a stuffed chicken breast, or I actually don't know yet. Or should I just make a chicken curry? I saw a recipe that had mashed potatoes and then chicken breasts and sort of a white sauce, I don't know what it was, like a parsley sauce or something over it, and that was baked, and then with cheese on the top. Haven't worked that one out, but I'll think about that during the day, and so I'll bring you back when I am ready to make the pancake mix.